how to develop self-awareness. So if you're trying to overcome an obstacle in one of the main areas of life, which will include your mental health, your spiritual health, physical health, your financial/career health, or your interpersonal relationships, including family, friends, and your intimate relationships, self-awareness can get to the very root cause of what is holding you back. It can also, if you're just an absolute stud, just generally enrich the connectiveness of your life to yourself, other people, the world. Self-awareness is a truly amazing skill, and that's why I want to share it with you today. My name is George, I'm a coach, I help people. In today's video, what I want to do is talk about how do you even find these threads from which you begin developing self-awareness, like the inception of the ideas. What sort of person does it take to then develop? What sort of attitudes do you need to have to develop these threads, these tidbits, these inception of ideas into, which is then the final point, real world change, real world transformation, real world transcendence even. Inception of an idea, sort of person you need to be to cultivate it, and then what you need to do to take it into the real world to make it a part of not just who you are, but how you live your life. Before we begin, let's start right at the beginning. What is self-awareness? So self-awareness is the extent to which you understand yourself and the world around you. So imagine this bubble around you, and the bigger it is, the greater understanding, the more power you have over yourself. However, if you are that bloke at the pub that has the same 5 conversations about beer, football, boobs, the weather and work, you might have a very, and I am being trivial, a very small sphere of self-awareness, of self-understanding. So the best metaphor I've heard to understand self-awareness is this idea of being born with tinted glasses from birth. And because you've worn them from birth, you don't know they exist. However, through the process of self-awareness, you can change that tint to a clear lens. Now, so then what is that tint? That tint is all the rules, the conditioning, the beliefs that you've held over your life, that you run and regulate your life by. This can be anything from the conditioning of your society. So when I'm in London, no one talks to each other. Everyone's on their phone. Everyone's in a general state of apathy. That is socially conditioned. If a child gets on that train or on the underground, they are conditioned to believe the same. Reasonable. Your childhood, of course that's going to be a part of it, but it could also just be generally what you strive for, what you think you need to be okay, your values, your beliefs, potentially what you do for work, etc., etc. All of this is conditioning that has kind of been pre-programmed throughout your life. But now, through the process of self-awareness, you get to have a chance to look through the world through a clearer lens. If you had a perfectly clear lens, you'd probably be Jesus or someone like that, but a clearer lens to understand yourself and the world better. So, how do we begin to find these threads, these inceptions of ideas about our own self-awareness? Now, I've got some questions that I wrote down that I think are great starts. These are just illustrative examples. I would very much encourage you to answer them for yourself. Now, I write in a diary, I would say if you're serious about self-awareness, self-reflection, get a diary. The brain is not made to hold thoughts in mind, and writing also encourages you to think carefully about what you're saying, what you believe. You can write these questions down, you can come up with your own. What do I want? What do I need to be okay? What do I need to be valued? What drives my behaviour? How do I make people feel? How do people think I make them feel? What do I think people? Why do I do the things I do? Why don't I do the things I want to do? What things won't I do and why? What sorts of influences are likely to have distorted my worldview? What sorts of things spike my adrenaline, severely change my state? And then also, beyond that, just why that, why that, why? Just going down the rabbit hole and really getting curious about any sort of reflective question like that. But I will also encourage you to come up with your own. Throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year, all over your life, there are millions and millions of clues that you are just not paying attention to. It's so easy to stay entrenched in your routine. But I implore you to slow things down, to write things down. You come in after work, you sit down, and then it could just be a reflection on that, like, well, I know I wanted to do this, or I think I'm interested in that, like, why don't I do that? Or am I happy doing that? Or why don't I do all this other stuff? Or given that I keep on doing this pattern of behavior, what is it about that I believe I'm getting? What do I believe to keep on doing that? What don't I believe to do something else? If you are honestly curious about getting self-aware, you will come up with so many questions for yourself. But it's not just questions. I would also strongly pay attention to the sensations that you feel throughout the day. When do you feel mad, angry, sad? When do you feel apathetic? What different things change your state just besides food? When you're put in different experiences, what do you feel then? What do you think could be going on then? If you imagined yourself in a predicament that you'd like to be in, but still feel quite uneasy about it, what's all that about? It's all about just kind of looking either for those things that you overlook, or certainly these grey areas that are just on the peripheral of your awareness that you're not too sure about. But by reflecting, by writing them down, by ruminating on them, potentially like say on a long drive, you can then begin to unpack what the hell that thing is all about. Also with those questions, ask other people what they think. How does it even make you feel about asking other people these more personal questions? There's just a ton of ways to do it. Another one, maybe do like a bar chart of your day. What do you do? How do you genuinely spend your weeks? And then write another one, how would you like to? And then what does it feel like to have the gulf between those? Why is it, do you think, that you don't do those things? And then you've got all the questions beyond that, like, oh, how does it feel to acknowledge that you think you don't do these things because of this? What else is underneath that? Just get curious about your own life, and you will unpack so much. It won't all be right, and it's very easy to get railroaded down the wrong idea. So for example, why don't I do that? Oh, it's because I'm just an idiot. Oh, because I'm never going to be good enough. It's very easy to feel bad about ourselves. It's very easy to get in a self-deprecating mood. But there will always be further and further reflections. Now, I personally believe that humans are inherently good, inherently positively striving. So just continue to work on yourself with compassion. And although it might be a very confronting experience, it will be a very beneficial one. Now this takes me to my second point. What sort of person is it going to take? Unpacking who you are to a very deep level, or to a deeper level, can be very confronting. It can be very upsetting, because it's not just doing the hard work in terms of grinding things out like you might do at the gym, on a treadmill and whatever, where almost stoicism is a very positive trait. Being self-aware and going deeper into yourself can be very upsetting. It can be very vulnerable. It can be very humbling. Perhaps the realization that you strived for career success, or that you strived for this sort of relationship, is what you thought you needed to impress other people. That's like a really cliche, obvious one. But again, there, flipping your whole life on its head is very confronting and kind of leave you in no man's land. Because if you've dedicated your entire life to doing something, or right now or for previous years, you've just been very tunnel vision on one idea, and all of a sudden that's ripped up and you've left with this abyss between yourself and your purpose. It's very, very, very upsetting. Not that this is necessarily what's happening to them, but just look at sports people. Once they climb to the top and then fall off or don't achieve what they do, it's supremely upsetting, because everything that they've potentially believed up until that point, whether it's that sport being their identity, or the feeling, Frank Lampard talks about this, winning the Champions League, the feeling he thought it would bring him and it didn't, what then? Self-awareness can be very deeply confronting. It takes a very brave, courageous person to truly engage in the process of unpacking themselves. If it's not for you today, it might be for you tomorrow. So take things slow, lead with compassion, and anticipate that there are going to be layers upon layers of things for you to unpack at a pace that suits you. Now lastly, once you've found that reflection, that little bit of self-awareness, you've accepted it to a larger extent for yourself, how do you then bring it into the real world? Well, the most obvious and important thing you can do is action it. So you have realized that you hate being close to people because you don't trust them. The obvious action to take there in time is to get close enough to someone that you begin to feel vulnerable. And that is how a reflection then becomes a part of your life. And once it's a part of your life, it will then become self-reinforcing. Just like if you thought, I've always wanted to be an athlete, you then start doing something athletic, you kind of become an athlete, you can then identify as an athlete. You see what I'm saying here? It's this cycle of inception of idea through to implementation reinforces that belief. There's no point having all these ideas, these tidbits of knowledge stored solely in books. Information or knowledge that is not acted upon is essentially useless. However, information, knowledge that is acted upon is truly what personal power is. Another tip for actioning it in the real world is, now you will have your patterns of behavior go past you in a flash. So someone annoys you and you go, ah, it's already lost. You've played that program again super quick. You couldn't wait to press play. So what you need to do is, especially more so in conversation and also in your minute by minute or decision by decision actions, is slow things down and cognitively, really cognitively, so less so emotionally, but really consciously deciding, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to reply. This is how I want to act. So especially like in conversations, it's so easy to fall into a trap of just getting a little bit triggered and just getting that bit between your teeth, or just avoiding it, or just saying what you don't want to say, or feeling a little bit uncomfortable and averting that pattern of behavior that you've identified that you do. So slow it down, choose what you're trying to do consciously, and if you don't do it the first time, that's okay. Write about it, think about it. Tell someone perhaps that you do trust. Just keep on gently and slowly bringing this greater version of yourself into reality, even if you only hold it in your awareness for a long period of time. But fundamentally, if you keep moving forward and trying to embed or trying to find ways of breathing life into this greater sense of yourself that you have, it will eventually have. It's not linear. It's not, you write about it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And then, slowly, bit by bit, you mumble your words out ever so much more each time. All of a sudden, you can just make huge strides, huge waves in your own self-development, in your own self-awareness, and the integration of that into your real life by persevering, being brave, and accepting that this is a lifelong process. Now, before you go, I've got a book recommendation for you. I saw it recommended to me on YouTube, not personally, by Russell Brand. He, in turn, had it recommended to him by Oprah Winfrey. So it is a good one. It's my favourite book. The Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. He's got a podcast. I'm going to link to that in the description. And he explains, first of all, what self-awareness is, but then also how you can develop it in life whilst maintaining a positive, forward-thinking, jolly attitude, where you begin to realise that all the little routines of yourself and other people, of those lower thresholds of awareness, are actually just silly, and life is a game, and not to take yourself too seriously, and just strive to be a better person. Otherwise, I'm going to leave my email in the description. Email me if you've got any questions. Leave any comments on things that you'd like me to expand on. And lastly, I'm going to do the little pop of all the criteria for the video. Let me know if you agree. I think this video went a lot better than the last one.